We've seen many indie studios release games inspiring the NES era, down to the 8-bit style graphics and chiptune music. Most of those games don't necessarily respect the limitations of the NES hardware. And that's okay, because the presentation can get the point across without having to intentionally include sprite flickering or extremely limited color palette. 16-bit era-inspired indie games, however, are still nowhere near as common. And among those games, even fewer try to push the presentation closer to what the designers of that era were striving to do. Fox and Forest is one of those rarities. This game looks incredible and sounds just like a SNES game made by Capcom. And that's by design. The developers listed Super Ghosts and Ghosts as one of their main inspirations. That's why the game is called Fox and Forest. Other inspirations cited were Actraiser Trio and Wonder Boy in Monster World. I don't really see the Wonder Boy in this here, but I can see Actraiser Trio influencing the awesome presentation. When Capcom and platformer are in the same sentence, people usually think of Mega Man. But in the early to mid-90s, most of Capcom's side-scrolling games didn't play like Mega Man at all, especially when you include their arcade releases. You really shouldn't expect this to match Mega Man, as Rick the Fox can be a little stiff to control. You get used to it, and you should also get used to your very short melee attacks making you take damage from certain enemies instead. The story is told to you almost like a little fable for children, and there is a little bit of dialogue here and there, full of humor. The jokes are very hit or miss, just like our jokes here at Game Over Hell, but it never gets annoying. Basically, Rick has to defeat 4 bosses to get magical barks to improve the health of some great tree that protects the forest or something like that. Since the fox is a bit of a jerk, him and the bird don't get along well. Rick will even send the poor bird to space as the end goal for each level. The platform is mostly very standard, but you don't jump on enemies. Rick can use a blade to attack enemies up close, very close, or attack from afar using arrows. You unlock more arrows after defeating each boss. The other arrows do a lot more damage and are required to solve different puzzles for hidden items, but they also consume mana. Your mana regenerates over time, but that takes a while, so you should pick up crystals to restore it faster. Mana is also consumed to change the season of the level. You can only alternate between 2 seasons, the default season which costs nothing or whatever the alternate season is, which depletes your mana over time. Doing this affects objects and paths in the level, and you're supposed to use this mechanic often when looking for optional collectibles that unlock upgrades. This also adds another layer of puzzle solving to the game. This is not a fast-paced game, and if you go in a hurry, you're going to die very fast. Thankfully, there are multiple checkpoints in each level, and the game warps you right back to them quickly and smoothly. Honestly, it's almost impressive how quickly respawn is. However, to register a checkpoint, you have to pay a fee. This caused a lot of people to complain back when this game came out, but the cost is really no big deal if you at least try to kill enemies and open chests in your path. It gets a little more steep in the last couple levels, but at that point you're making a lot more gold, so I'd say it's well balanced. There are a couple scrolling shooter levels. These can get tough since touching anything that isn't an item or gold kills you. The first one is pretty fun, the second one is kinda annoying because it takes some time to learn what is in the foreground and what is part of the obstacles you have to avoid. The bosses function more like puzzles than real fights. Every boss has a specific strategy you have to figure out to make them vulnerable to damage. Once you learn that strategy, the fight changes from hard to incredibly easy. The only problem is until you figure it out, the game will constantly ask if you need help every time you die. They really should have included an option to disable this. No matter how hard the level or level section, there are no lives in this game, so you can try over and over until you get better. This is good because it motivates you to keep going. It's also fairly short, so you won't be trying for very long if you keep at it. My biggest gripes other than Rick's short melee range making the last couple levels frustrating is that the grind for gold to increase your health bar takes way too long. and the potion system is a little underwhelming. The only time the potion is going to be really useful also happens to be the time the game literally takes it away from you. I think the developers noticed this because they included a cheat code to increase your gold to the maximum. You activate it by doing a sequence of D-pad movements in the title screen, just like games from the 90s. I'll say it again, I think for a 16-bit style game, the graphics, especially in the background, look amazing. And some of the tracks are also really good. I even added a few of them to my personal playlist. This game built a weird reputation upon release. I noticed a lot of critics called it Eurojank or that it lacked anything to stand out in its gameplay. I have to respectfully disagree with that. If this was a SNES or Saturn game from '95, reviewers in the retro scene would be calling it a hidden gem or something like that. The platforming is decent, the level design is good, intuitive, and encourages exploration without getting tedious, and the season mechanic is used in clever ways often. It's not an expensive game, so if you want to experience a little platformer that can easily convince you you're playing a good forgotten SNES game you can beat in a free Saturday, Fox and Forest is an easy recommendation for me. If you see a game called Finnegan Fox instead, I suggest you avoid it like the plague. I don't know if it came out or not since it was originally planned for the Intellivision Amico, but it takes away all the charm of Fox and Forest and replaces it with new graphics that look like total ass. Don't buy Finnegan Fox, buy this one instead. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.